But here's what happened in this horrific interview, this shameful interview from PBD, the grifter king of South Florida.
Developing now ballistic missiles that can reach deep into the heart of Europe. Their plan is to develop, the next thing is an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile that will reach 8,000 kilometers. You add another 3,000 and they can reach New York. Where are you broadcasting from, by the way?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yeah, they can reach Florida, Fort Lauderdale, New York, Washington, Boston.
Of course, Netanyahu knows a thing or two about that area because his own son lives on Miami Beach. He doesn't live in Israel with his dad. He lives he lives in South Florida, in the Zion, in Little Israel. Southeast capital of Israel is in Southeast Florida. That's where he is. Look at Patrick with his shoulders all shrugged up, not sure I'm going to say anything wrong. Don't want to get myself in trouble. But he got Netanyahu to come on his podcast. You know, there is such thing as saying, I'm just not going to talk to that guy because it's simply not worth it. He's not a good dude. He can't even do that. He's only thinking about clicks and business and controversy. That's the purpose. That's how he's always done business. To the days that he built his multi-level marketing scheme of a company that was for insurance. When we tried to get Jen on the podcast, you know what he did? He had one of his minions reach out to try to sell us a package that maybe if we purchased it, they might invite Jen on. How much was the initial purchase package? Between $1,200 and $1,500. And there were no guarantees that you were getting on the show as a result. But, you know, they had to sell you the bullshit that they do. And apparently less than 3% of the people that actually work for Patrick Bet-David actually turn a profit working for his company. There's the other little inconvenient truth about how he does business.
And after that, any other city in the United States. And they intend to put nuclear warheads on these ballistic missiles. So this is a fact.
The same fact that you have been spewing about Iran for the past 30 plus years. And he's still out there doing it. Still, I really don't know what he's hoping to accomplish, because I will tell you, the people who truly listen to Valuetainment and the PBD podcast, the person that they like the most on that channel is Vinny Oshana, who is the only person who's worth his weight. Everybody else, of course, Patrick Bet-David, but most importantly, Adam Sosnick, who I believe is a Mossad agent who basically is his AIPAC handler, if you will. That's the only reason why Sosnick is there, because if you go in and you look at those chats, they fucking hate his guts. But Sosnick is the type of guy who probably set up this interview. That would be my guess. Milikowski, I shouldn't say Netanyahu. Milikowski being interviewed here by grifting extraordinaire Patty Bet-David, Patty Bet Star of David.
The main fact that I want to say is that we're fighting in many ways the war of the West, the war of Western civilization against these barbarians. And our victory will be your victory.
Our victory will be your victory. Couldn't say it. That is a moment of truth if there ever was one. One and the same, no difference. We are fighting this war for you. If we win, you win. And if we lose, you lose. That's what he's saying. So we must win. He's trying really hard to convince this country that we need to put boots on the ground there. But it ain't happening. You want to talk about a mutiny that'll happen in this country? You can imagine how those fuckhead soldiers that are over there right now that are shooting innocent civilians, you know, some of them just get so fucked up in the head by being involved that they just decide they're going to kill everybody. That's the sentiment about how war is held. But that's not all that they talked about. It gets even more interesting.
You know, the Holocaust has been recognized by 193 different countries, right? Everybody around the world. And in some countries, if you denied, you could do jail time. Many countries, you can do jail time a year, 5 years. But for anybody that doesn't recognize Armenian Assyrian genocide, if there's any country that I would have expected to be on the list that recognized the Armenian and the Assyrian and the Greek genocide, it would be Israel why haven't you yet recognized the Armenian, Assyrian, and the Greek genocide that the Turkish did to that community?
The idea that he is talking about the Armenian genocide with a guy who is committing genocide right now and would not say a damn word about anything that Israel is doing is a certain level of shamefulness that only a grifter like PBD could possibly do. That takes a lot of balls. I mean, amazing. Like, let's talk about another genocide. Not yours, of course. Let's talk about this one. What are your thoughts?
In fact, I think we have, because I think the Knesset passed a resolution to that effect.
I don't know if it's come from you, though. I don't know if it's come from the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
Here you go.
All right. Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you for...
I mean, I want to say that I can continue to be surprised by how depraved, not just PBD can be, but how depraved Netanyahu can be. This is so beyond the scope. It's as if they are mocking the Palestinians now. Yeah, we're killing them, but why don't we address this other one that's going on? And if you listen to the Zion-Nazis that find their way onto Tim Pool's show, all they talk about, as Saul Good points out, is what about Sudan? What about Yemen? What about Somalia? No, let's figure out every which way, even though we address them all, to not talk about Palestine. Or, yes, we know we're killing all those people in Palestine, but how come you only want to get on us? How about those guys? Don't they deserve some of the anger too? Yeah, we suck, but, you know, they suck too. That's how that, again, there is no justification. It's just what they say.
I appreciate you. That's important to me. And I'm sure a lot of Armenians, Assyrians, and Greeks around the world appreciate you saying that.
Well, let me just say that he took a lot of fucking heat for doing this, as he should. And if any of you have ever watched, I mean any clip, I'm talking any clip, specifically clips in which Sosnick is a part of it, and you look in the chat at what people have to say, and I'm telling you, I have been familiar with Patrick Bet-David for probably at least 5 or 6 years, I would say. And even before October 7th, 2023, you would look in the chat and you would see people just constantly saying, I don't understand why Adam Sosnick is here. I don't understand why the hell he has anything to say. Everything he talks about is bullshit. And then the second it gets brought up, there is always a defense from Mr. David. And we all know that's not his real name. But nevertheless, Mr. David, Mr. Star of David, had that to say. Well, people got on him about not only this softball interview with the most tasteless angles that you could possibly play, including bringing up genocide of another country that could never touch what's going on in Gaza. Just the total insanity of it all would make no sense. And yet they wanted to bring it up. So they did. They brought it up, and that was the response. Well, a lot of people, I would imagine patrons in particular, were really upset about this. And they started coming after PBD as a result. They also came after him because he refuses to have Nick Fuentes on his channel. And we all know why. But instead of acknowledging that maybe it should be a conversation worth having and coming up with any excuses, he actually let the cat out of the bag as to why he would not have him on. So here's what the very next day, again, this is earlier this week, Patrick Bet-David had to say regarding such an interview.
You can't be naive and not realize, oh my God, but look, that person's getting this many more retweets, and they got, what is the word? They got, there's a phrase that if somebody puts a tweet below you and they get more, views. Ratio. Yeah, of course that's going to happen. You think if I'm on that side, I'm not going to put 1 million bots to work? There's places there's businesses for this. But if I have someone on that Israel is furious, like let's just say if I have Nick Fuentes on, you know what Israelis are going to say? So disappointed in you.
We're going to pull our funding from your channel. We will not support you anymore. Your entire grift will fall apart. For anybody who's never seen the movie Boiler Room, that is not aware of how Patrick Bet-David's grift works, he's selling an idea. He's not selling anything, at least nothing of value. What he's selling is a theory. I have seen his business. I have seen the real estate he buys. He's a private jetter, you know, those guys. He's got a lot of money to blow to maintain this lifestyle. He preys on the ignorant and the arrogant. There's a sucker born every minute in the eyes of a grifting salesman, and he's going to take them for all they're worth. And Patrick Bet-David has taken a lot of people for a ride. And you know why? Because his podcast has blown up. He's got millions of subscribers. He has huge guests, including the Donald, among other people that have shown up on his channel. It lends a certain degree of credibility that he has gotten. He has grifted his way to credibility, but he's also grifted his way to huge sponsorships and contracts. So when he's out here talking about, ooh, we can't talk about what's going on right now with Israel, with Netanyahu, and all the crimes against humanity that they're committing. Why? Why can't we talk about Nick Fuentes? Because our Israel supporters might not like it.
You know, I can't believe you sold out. I can't believe you did this. They're going to say those types of things, okay? And maybe even try to actually get the interview to be flagged, okay? Like when we had Tommy Robinson on Minnect, story came out from the Times. I don't know if you have the story, Rob. Type in the Times. The Times could type in Tommy Robinson to Times and Minnect, okay? So they did a massive story, the Times, okay? With the story. They came, I don't know if people know this or not, Instagram blocked the Minnect account from being able to run ads for a year because of this Times story. Tommy Robinson charging $20 a minute out of his personal coach to the far right, the self-styled anti-Islam activist, and this is...
I want to know who the fuck is paying Tommy Robinson anything. Tommy Robinson is a disgrace to the UK. I can imagine what the Scotsman and the Irishman think of this fuck. He has 1 million followers on X. 1 million. And he is a total fucking grift machine for the Israel cause. So as you can see here, this is a beautiful grift, and clearly it's working for him in a big way. 28 pounds a minute. If you have that kind of money to blow, you don't actually need to be paying somebody to coach you on how to be more successful in life. You're probably doing well enough. And if you are wasting that type of money on that type of a conversation, like I said, this is the grifter economy. There's a sucker or two or 100 born every minute, and they're going to get taken advantage of by people like Tommy Robinson and Patrick Bet-David.
From UK, they reached out directly to Facebook to have this happen to Minnect.
Ridiculous. So he says that he can't talk to Nick Fuentes because his audience isn't going to like it, because Nick Fuentes hits a little too close to home when it comes to the issue of Israel-Palestine. Now, again, as we've said before, when we address Nick on this channel, we are trying to hopefully get his attention to recognize that while he's right about a lot of things, he's not right about everything. And his supporters, especially his diehard groypers, they think he is completely perfect in every way. Everything he talks about is right. Don't question him. Well, you know what we do? But you know what? He's also right about Patrick Bet-David and what a coward he is and what a grift he is. Here's what he had to say.
Now, look, I like Patrick Bet-David.
I don't.
I like his crew. I like his show. Show's good. I like his interviews. He talks to Andrew Tate. Very good show with Andrew Tate. Talk to Dan Bilzerian. Great show with Dan Bilzerian. Two friends of mine. They're both great.
Dan Bilzerian is not great. Andrew Tate is even worse. So when I say that I have my disagreements with Mr. Fuentes, this would be an example of that. But hey, your friends are who your friends are, man. You do you. They're just people or just company I sure shit wouldn't keep.
So I think he's a patriot. I think he loves America. He's we have some disagreements, but he's a pretty conservative guy. I consider him in some ways a fellow traveler on some issues. But he's like refusing to not host me on the show. Now, it's his show, it's his prerogative, but it does constitute a refusal because people are requesting it. The fans are requesting it on my show, on his show. People want to see it. And the reason it should be said that people want to see it is because it's going to be an interesting conversation. Whatever you want to say about me, good, bad, or ugly, I don't think anyone can dispute I'm an original thinker. I have an interesting perspective, a novel perspective. That's why people want me on their shows. I bring the views. And if you look at the comments section of any show that I've done, especially recently, people love it.
Here's the problem with going through multiple peaks and valleys of your success and now feeling your oats because he's catching the wave again. See, he's only 26, 27 years old. He's worth a lot of money. And he really has a massive ego. He's very good. I won't take that away from him. For anybody who knows anything about, like we were discussing earlier, how does somebody like David Pakman or Aaron Parnas build up the channels that they build up? They don't have a personality or something that draws people in. I can at least understand why people are drawn to Fuentes. That I can see. And anyone who's objective, regardless of what some of the comments are in the chat, know this. There's a reason why people are gravitating to him. He has talent. He does. Not all the talent that I would agree with, but you got to call a spade a spade.
I did a show with Sam Hyde, with Bradley Martin. I did a debate with Dinesh D'Souza. And the comments are all positive. And even the people that disagree say, well, it was thought-provoking, to say the least. So people have been asking for this collaboration for a while. People are asking me, when are you going to get on his show? And I say, well, it's his show. You got to ask him. And he says he doesn't want to have me on because I say the N-word. Okay. I don't agree with it. I accept that that's your explanation. But then today, he has on the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu. And that's where you got to say, isn't that a double standard? And don't get me wrong, I'm not being obtuse. I'm not being deliberately obtuse. I'm trying to be objective. I'm trying to be fair. I tell it like it is. I understand that Netanyahu is a world leader. So there's a different set of expectations that govern that role when you're a world leader. But Netanyahu is credibly accused of a genocide by the International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court. He was charged with war crimes. And by the way, that's not the Palestinians saying that. The same international bodies that charged Netanyahu with war crimes charged Hamas with war crimes.
He's not wrong. Not about this. I think if we're being completely objective about what it is that scares people about Fuentes, is that he doesn't sugarcoat anything. And people don't like that. It makes them very uncomfortable. You could be sitting with a person who says something. I mean, again, the big difference between somebody like Fuentes and somebody like Milikowski, excuse me. The big difference here is that one's a genocidal war criminal and the other has a big mouth. And people don't like his big mouth. And he's also cultivated quite a lot of support. A lot of it. So he's right about the hypocrisy. The reason why they don't want to have Fuentes on is because they know that there is a chance he's going to say something that could fuck with their advertisers. And that is the danger that you always run into when you do a freewheeling approach. The reason why we can cover Fuentes in an objective way on this channel is because we do not have sponsors that we have to answer to, or that we ever would, because it's not like our channel would ever get to that point. Now, of course, We could have a big subscriber count, Patreon count, YouTube member count. But in terms of those corporate sponsors that go to people like Pacman and Ben Shapiro, that's never happening here, which is why they won't talk about him. Because again, he'll say something like the N-word and everyone loses their minds. Again, not supporting it, but I'm explaining why that is the case. He's a wild card. And in this freewheeling situation of our country and our economy and our culture, as it stands today, people are getting tired of it. Why in hell would somebody like Patrick Bet-David platform Milikowski, but he won't platform him? Even though if the only thing that matters to Patrick Bet-David, which we all know what it is more money and more power, he clearly would have on Fuentes, because he knows that if he did, it would get to millions of views. But he's not going to do it because he has corporate sponsors that Fuentes would never have. Fuentes doesn't have corporate sponsors. That's why he says whatever he wants. And that is why he will not talk to him. He also won't talk to him because Fuentes will go on there and say free Palestine, and that would cause the whole fucking thing to blow up in PBD's face. And you can't let that happen. Not with the people he does business with. A grifter is going to grift till the bitter end.
That's the part that gets buried. They say the ICC is politically motivated. They charged Hamas and Netanyahu with war crimes. And many European governments that are pro-Israel have recognized these rulings as legitimate. So it's not just me. There's massive protests inside of Israel right now about Netanyahu's handling of the war. They believe he's dragging out the war to prolong his time in office.
He's right. 1,000% right. And there are protests happening in Tel Aviv, but as Jen has pointed out time and again, it is too small of a portion of the population in Israel that is against the genocide. It's probably somewhere between 80 to 85, even 90% of the population that is in favor of what's going on. That's the problem. And that's why they don't care if a few thousand people get out in the streets. It doesn't bother them. The consensus is changing a lot faster in the States, which is good.
But of course, why do you have the conversation with somebody like that? Because it's an interesting conversation. It's a big get. It's a big show. It's an interesting interview. But then when it concerns me, I said the N-word, that's the problem. So someone like with Netanyahu, we're going to suspend judgment on the famine, the war crimes, the political assassinations. We're going to suspend the judgment on that for the sake of the interview. But with me, I said never on the show. Let's be, and by the way, let's just be adults.
Yes, let's be adults. You don't need to use that word, even if you don't dislike black people. There is no reason publicly on a forum as wide-reaching as yours to feel the need to use that word. Now, if you ask somebody, like some of my friends that are from the hood, they would tell you that there is a difference between black people and people that they would give the N-word to. That's fine. I understand that. But again, if you're just using it to be edgy, which is the reason he has stated time and again is the reason he uses it, hey, it's clearly getting the job done because people are going to watch him. It's, again, this is very much like the Howard Stern effect of the 1980s. Why did people listen to Howard Stern? Because he was some amazing brainiac who knew everything about anything there was to know about anything of importance that could be discussed on a regular basis? No. They said the number one reason that they listen to Howard Stern is because they don't know what he's going to say next, and they want to be there to hear it when he does. He's just copying the same thing. David Nathan is right. He's 1,000% a shock jock. That's what he is. If you can describe Fuentes in two words, I guess it could be one if you really wanted it to be. He's a shock jock. And that's what people like. They like this idea that you don't know what's coming. It could be crazy, insane, exciting. Just look at his disposition. He knows he's got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the palm of his hand every time he talks. You see the channels all over that are desperately. We do one clip of Fuentes maybe once every other week, if it's relevant. In this case, it is, with what's going on with Patrick Bet-David. You have channels that have blown up because this is all they cover. They cover Fuentes and everything that comes out of his mouth every day, regardless of whether it's relevant or not. That's the problem. It's being encouraged, and he knows it. He knows that he's on fire. So being edgy, that's what he wants. That's he is everyone is playing right into his hands.
I don't respect adults that say the N-word. Are we babies? Ooh, he said the F word. Mommy, he said the F word. He said the S word. He said the D word. We're all adults here. I will not be treated in this diminutive way by black people. What you say, cracker? You can't say. You think you could say that? Yeah. Yeah, and who's going to tell me I can't? You? Why? Because you're black? I'm a grown-ass man. I'm an American. I can say whatever word I like. I could say any swear word, racial slur. Now, granted, we all recognize it's in poor taste to say these words in and out of context, to say the C word towards a woman, to say the N word towards a black person. We understand this. But to penalize somebody for uttering the word, like I just did, without context, just to say, that's the word you got a problem with. What is the word? No.
Okay, like I said, the real reason that he does not want Fuentes on his channel is simple. It has nothing to do with whether or not he uses the N-word. It has everything to do with whether or not he's going to say free Palestine. That's it.